Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Visionary Leaders Podcast. My name is Aisha Harley, and I am one of the founders, and we are absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today. Please join us every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time as we explore all things wellness, essential oils, and doTERRA. If you ever miss an episode, you can catch up anytime on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify, or stay connected with us at www.hellovisionary.life. So today we are very excited. We are diving into one of the most emotionally demanding roles, caregiving. Raise your hand if you've ever had to take care of somebody in your life or are currently taking care of a parent or loved one. Um, Whether you're a healthcare professional or supporting a loved one at home, the toll it takes can be overwhelming. Certified aromatherapist Bettina Moench joins us to share how doTERRA essential oils are being used in hospital settings and with caregiver groups to ease burnout, boost energy, and support emotional resilience. You'll walk away with simple, effective ways to bring more calm and balance into your caregiving journey. With over 20 years of experience in the wellness space, Bettina has introduced doTERRA essential oils into hospitals throughout South Florida. Her background in both traditional and integrative medicine fuels her passion for helping caregivers bridge the gap between natural solutions and modern healthcare. Bettina, we are so thrilled to have you with us here today. I'm going to pass the call on over to you.
Why, thank you, Aisha, for that lovely introduction. And I'm just going to start with letting you know a little bit about my journey into the world of caregiving and essential oils. And that began 10 years ago with a simple drive past a local hospital. And I noticed that there was a building that had the words Memory Disorder Center on it. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. It caught my attention because I had recently learned through doTERRA that there are certain oils that can be very beneficial for memory. And so I thought, well, I wonder, because I had learned through doTERRA that no matter whether you smell a beautiful aroma, like an essential oil, or something not so pleasant, like the smell of a skunk, the molecules from that aroma go up through our nasal passage and go right to the part of the brain called the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory and for emotion. And so I thought, well, I wonder if it's possible that this facility might be interested in learning about essential oils that could be helpful with memory. I went home and I went to the source that I like best after first going to the hospital's website and discovering that the hospital in that center had support groups for caregivers of Alzheimer's. So that was even more intriguing to me to learn that there were support groups. And I thought, well, if I can actually have a conversation in this facility, I would like to go armed with something that gives a little credibility to me, since I'm not a medical professional, and gives some credibility to the essential oils. So I went to pubmed.gov, which is a website. If you're not familiar with that, it is the repository of tens of thousands of research articles and studies from all over the planet. And they take into account all kinds of health concerns. So I typed into the search bar essential oils and dementia, and sure enough, up came some studies. And I thought, well, I'll print these out and I'll see if I can find a way into this facility. And at least I'll have that as a little bit of a credibility. But I do want to point out one caveat about doing what I did, and that is this: we are not permitted in either the essential oil world or the supplement world to do what's called borrow science. And that is, You can't go on to a website like PubMed and find a study about essential oils and dementia, and then try to attach that study to your product, because there's no way of knowing if that study actually used your product or what product they used. So you can't borrow science and attach those two things. But I just wanted to have that as a little bit of a credibility to just say in general, if I had an opportunity to talk with someone, that in general, essential oils have been shown to have a positive impact in helping to calm people. So I went back to the Memory Disorder Center and I asked about the support groups that were being offered. And to my surprise, the receptionist said, well, let me introduce you to John Cavoto. He's our social worker who heads up those support groups. And suddenly there I was talking to John, and I expressed to him my passion around essential oils and their potential benefit with memory and calming. And he kind of cocked his head to the side and he said, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. And I said, well, would it be all right with you if I were to give you an experience of an essential oil? And he said, yeah, sure. What? Okay. Asked him to put out his hand and to let me put a drop of peppermint into it. Showed him how to take a nice deep breath by cupping it around his nose, and asked him to take a deep breath and then let me know what you think. And he took a deep breath, and the next thing he said was, whoa, which is, of course, what everybody says when they get a nice deep breath of Doterra's peppermint oil. And I said, yes, isn't that amazing? And that is exactly the experience that everyone has. This is a fabulous energizer. It's non-pharmaceutical, which makes it really a great option for people who are caregivers and also care receivers. And there are other oils that can be beneficial. And he said, well, let's talk about it. So for the next 30 minutes, we chatted about essential oils and what they could do and their benefits. And to my absolute delight and surprise, he invited me to join his quarterly workshops that take place over a 3-day period with the caregivers of Alzheimer's people, and to offer information about essential oils and how they could be beneficial. So that's how I got started. To my big surprise, that's how I got started with a caregivers group. And so today I'm going to just pop here onto this little PowerPoint. Oopsie, I just lost my little PowerPoint. There it is. I have to get rid of me. There we go. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So there are two types of caregiver groups that I have had the pleasure to be associated with. And that's the unpaid relatives of caregivers and also medical professionals. We're going to talk about what are the challenges that they face. And honestly, there are some things that are in common and very similar, but there are some differences based on what each group needs to deal with. I'm going to talk a little bit about the essential oils that might be a good choice for their well-being. And then for those of you who may be interested or are currently building a business with Doterra, I'm going to give you a few thoughts about how you might approach caregivers as a potential client for your Doterra business. So who are the caregivers? And as you can see from this slide, the absolute enormity of the caregiving population, with 100 million adults functioning as caregivers. And just to make sure that I'm not talking about caregivers who are babysitters, I'm talking about caregivers who are offering care to a child, a parent, or another relative or friend who need assistance in their daily lives in some way or another. And a third of those, or 14% of the population of the US, is providing unpaid elder care, assisting individuals age 65 or older who have age-related conditions. And I really appreciate that Rosalind Carter had a prediction that we will all at some point join the ranks in some form or another. As you can see, she has said there are 4 kinds of people in the world. those who have been caregivers, those who are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregiving. This is just a summary of the list of tasks of caregivers, and it doesn't even for a second convey the emotional weight of the job. And the caregiver group that I have joined, as I mentioned, is a 3-day event, and it has various professionals offering all kinds of information over that period of time. And it's legal, it's financial, it's hospice care, it's assisted living, and other important caregiving subjects. And I was always the last person to speak on the last day. And my now had become friend social worker, John, said I was the most popular. And I thought, well, it's not because I'm such a fabulous speaker. Why? It's because essential oils are fun and they're uplifting and they're effective. And he wanted people to leave this 3-day workshop feeling fun and uplifted and hopeful, because the information can be quite ponderous. And so I was happy to have that opportunity to speak with them. It was usually a group of 15 to 20 people, and they generally ranged in age from 40 to 80. And their exhaustion and overwhelm was written on every one of their faces. It's not hard to imagine the many ways that caregiving impacts people's lives. As you can see, I've separated that into the emotional aspects of the stress, the anxiety. Oftentimes there's grief, there's guilt, there's frustration, anger, resentment, fear, and the social isolation that occurs when you are a person who is providing caregiving, and the person that you are giving care to is really not that capable of being out in the world and socializing. There's the mental overwhelm. There's so many decisions to make. There's so many financial worries, and there's often feelings of hopelessness. There's the fatigue involved and the body aches because maybe you have to move someone frequently or help them to stand or to get dressed. There are headaches and sleep deprivation. And of course, with all of that stress comes immune suppression. And then there's the financial issues that are possibly being supplemented by the caregiver or entirely supported. And in some cases, and I know many people who have had to give up their jobs in order to be present for their loved one, because the cost of caregiving can be enormous to have someone come into your home or to have that person go to a facility on a daily basis and then come home at night, or to live in an assisted living facility. So all of these things take a tremendous toll on people. So during my talks at the caregivers groups, I just want to point out, I kept things very, very simple in case you are a person who might want to pursue this them yourselves. I really kept it down to showing people lemon, lavender, peppermint, wild orange, and a diffuser, because many of the people that I spoke with had no knowledge of essential oils, and I only had a 1-hour period of time to tell them about essential oils, and really, most importantly, why should they care? What's in it for me? I don't know why you're telling me this. How is this going to help me in my life? And so I kept it very, very simple, because these are people who are overwhelmed with all of the tasks that they have to perform. So I really just wanted to be able to tell them that you can use essential oils in a diffuser and keep things really simple. When I was able to speak with them personally after a meeting, or if they wanted to bring essential oils into their home, then I could really get more involved in talking with them about other things that they might want to bring into their home. And that would be including things for the stress and emotional support, like the balance blend, lavender, the adaptive blend. And if you are interested and did not know it, Doterra has a science blog. And in that science blog, they have the studies that have been performed. And one of them is a clinical study that shows that the adaptive oil in capsules can reduce stress by helping to calm the nervous system. So if you're ever interested in that, you can go to the Doterra website and look up science and you'll find the blogs. In addition, there are oils that I often talked with them about that would help with sleep. And of course, that's the Serenity Sleep System, which I use myself. So it's easy for me to suggest that to people. And again, there's a clinical trial that Doterra did on the Serenity soft gels, again, being able to help with calming the nervous system and being a safe and effective sleep support. And I just want to mention again, many people who are receiving care are on multiple medications, and doTERRA's oils represent an opportunity to bring support and calm and rest without adding to their pharmaceutical list of medications. Vetiver is also a nice calming oil, and again, lavender. Again, people do a lot of moving, lifting, helping with people to walk with walkers, getting them into baths, getting them into clothes, that sort of thing. So there's oftentimes a lot of pain, muscle aches and pains. So the entire doTERRA Deep Blue Sleep product line is fantastic, along with things like Aromatouch, and also the energy part of that. The Super Mint is a huge people just love the supermint and the peppermint. So these things are especially helpful. And if you have somebody who has sensitive skin themselves, the person who is giving the care or the person who's receiving care, the kids collection is really a great choice because it has been diluted to really help with children and to still provide lots of benefits to digestive health and calming and focus and that sort of thing. So that's a nice choice as well. Oops, where am I? Here we are. Gosh. Okay. Creating a relaxing home environment is also such a powerful way of helping people who are doing the caregiving. You can see that up here where I've talked about diffusing for calm for everyone. I mentioned be the diffuser, and I really mean by that it's super simple to either put essential oils onto yourself as kind of a way to calm yourself, but also to act as a kind of a perfume and to put it onto your clothing, a little bit, dab it onto your clothing, dab it on to a blanket that goes around the neck of someone. When I get to the medical part of this, I'm going to talk about that too. I have many nurses working in the psychiatric emergency department that use themselves as diffusers because they can't provide the oil to a patient in that scenario. And they put it onto blankets that are then going to go up around the neck of the person who has some mental issues. I also suggest to people who are helping at home people with needs, physical needs of some kind, just remember to keep the diffusers out of reach. I do love the bubble diffusers. If you happen to be someone who's had the opportunity to get bubble diffusers, they're so great because they are battery operated and they are motion detection so that when you walk in front of it, it turns on. And that's a really great way of using the diffusers. Some great diffuser choices are not going to be a big surprise to those of you who use essential oils, and that is using citrus oils for uplifting, and that can be wild orange, lemon, tangerine, grapefruit. All of those oils can be very cheering, and this is an atmosphere that could use some cheering. Again, the mint oils are fabulous for energizing. They're great in the diffuser to help bring energy. In the morning when you want someone to be up and awake, helping them with energizing mint oils are really great. For memory and focus, bergamot has some studies on PubMed that help to calm the nervous system and to make it possible for the brain to relax and perhaps to bring some memories forward. So bergamot is a great choice. For sundowning, vetiver, vanilla, lemon, lavender, ylang ylang are all great. If you're not familiar with sundowning, if you're not helping someone who has a memory deficit, has dementias or Alzheimer's. Sundowning is a symptom of dementia, particularly with Alzheimer's, and it's where individuals experience increased confusion and agitation, anxiety, irritability, and it can actually occur in the late afternoon and the evenings, and that's where it gets its name, sundowning. And it is also can have a lot of mood swings around it, irritability, pacing back and forth, and getting out of bed. And this brings me to an experience I had with my nephew, who's a firefighter and a paramedic. And we were talking one day about what do we each do and sharing some stories. And he was saying that, yes, it's amazing how many times we get called out in the middle of the night to go to an assisted living facility because an elderly person has somehow gotten out of their bed, somehow tripped on their way out, hurt themselves. They have escaped sort of, and they're out in the hallways, they're pacing. And I said, yes, that's probably a symptom of the sundowning, where they're just awake when everybody else is calming. They can actually be more alert and more agitated in the evening. So that made a lot of sense to him. Another diffuser choice that is great is cinnamon and wild orange, which can often evoke the smell of something cooking, like maybe a pie or something just comforting. And that is something that can really help with people who have memory issues, to evoke a memory, to also just help them to feel calm and comforted. For the caregiver, self-care is so important and often overlooked. And it's something that it can be helpful to take a shower with essential oils in it. If you don't do that, that is a really great way to just drop a drop of essential oil in the back of a shower and let the steam from the shower make a nice bloom of aroma that makes your bathroom and ultimately into the rest of your environment a very relaxing spa-like atmosphere. An Epsom salt bath in the bathtub or a foot bath is often a way to feel like you are having a little spa experience. And also, I think it's fun to suggest to people to try out the Yarrow Palm Eye Mask, because that really can make you feel like you've just got a little bit of a wait time for yourself. Aroma Touch is a really great opportunity for you to give to the person you love. And if there are two caregivers in a home, for you to give to each other to support each other. And whether that's the hand technique or the full technique. And as we know, what you give, you receive. Once you get those oils on your own hands, you are having the opportunity of them going through into your own skin, up into, as I mentioned before, aroma is very powerful on emotions, because that goes immediately up into the brain and helps to relax. So Aroma Touch with the Aroma Touch oils is a really often times a great way to bring comfort to the home. You can make a bedtime spray. Certainly you can make it out of the Serenity oil, but you might also think about mixing lavender and Roman chamomile and cedarwood together in water and putting it into a spray bottle and spritzing your pillows, your loved ones' pillows, and the bedding, just to bring some extra calm. So I want to just take a little side note here. This is a little bit personal, but I learned a hard lesson recently, and I made things a lot worse. Uh-oh. I might have to get some adaptive on here. I thought I was okay. I have two family members, one with memory deficit and one with delusions. If you have experienced this, it's very, very hard. I'm not the full-time caregiver for either one of these people, but they are my siblings. I see them a lot. And I've had plenty of opportunity over the last few years to allow myself to have frustration. So recently, in a vain attempt to insist that my sibling with the delusions acknowledge a piece of information that's very important to me that they acknowledge, and that is the death of one of our other siblings. And I insisted that she acknowledge it when she kept on saying it's not true. And so that was a disaster. And you cannot insist that a person with delusions or dementia accept your reality. So it was a terrible argument that we had. And she left our conversation very agitated, very upset, tearful. And I left just ashamed of myself for the fool's errand that I had allowed myself to partake in. So pardon my emotion around this, but if you are a caregiver, you know, oh gosh, there's some real trials around it. So I'm past that now. We'll go on to what could I have done and what will I do in the future, because I can't allow myself that frustration again. There is a better way. I had the chance to speak with a psychiatric nurse who gave me some really great advice, and that is you have to stay calm, you have to stay compassionate, you can't confront, you have to be respectful and concerned, especially with the people with delusions. You just have to acknowledge that that is their viewpoint on life, and you can't impose yours on them. And so she just has given me some great tips that when that occurs, that you can just acknowledge them and say, that must be very stressful. That must have been very frightening. I don't share your opinion, but I acknowledge your opinion. And you just can't say that's not real or you're wrong. These are all the pits that I stepped into. So just try to redirect and stay focused, and hopefully your frustration level and your ability to be patient will be a little stronger than mine was in that moment. But as Oprah likes to say, when you know better, you do better. So onward and upward. Okay, so now I want to go on to the professional caregivers and tell you that this was another moment of serendipity in my life, and that was when I was giving a talk at the caregivers group. I was glad to know that as part of the a person was there who was a hospice nurse, and she was taking a look at the group to see how she might be able to blend in as well. And after my talk, she came to me and she said, you know, I just think that there's an opportunity for you elsewhere, and I would love to invite you to join me in meeting the vice president of quality assurance at a different hospital altogether. So she took me to meet this absolutely lovely man, Barry, and he not only is a PhD and an RN and a VP of the hospital, but he also was the administrator of a group called the Holistic Health Council. And that council, it has um, its mission statement is to create peace and calm and compassion and patience in the staff by coming up with programs and projects that can be brought to the staff to help with creating the most calm atmosphere and the most efficient atmosphere that can happen. So in my conversation with Barry at the Holistic Care Council resulted, coming forward now, in for the last 10 years, being part of that council. I'm very honored to be just one of 2 community members that was invited to be part of the council. And as part of that, I was also invited to introduce to the hospital essential oils to be used by both the staff and the patients. And that has been truly an honor for the last 10 years. And Because of that, I have come to understand, because I work so closely now with the nurses, what exactly they deal with, and it's a little bit different than what home-based caregivers deal with. Obviously, as you can see, they have physical things that occur for them because they have very long shifts. They have two 12-hour shifts at this hospital. Oftentimes the shifts go past 12 hours. They go on to 13, 14 hours or longer. They're exhausted. They have sore feet from walking. They've got back pain from moving patients in and out of wheelchairs and helping them turn in their beds. They have digestive, excuse me, upset, surprisingly, because unlike other jobs, they don't have lunch hours, they don't have identified breaks. They eat on the run, they eat snack foods, and so they often are overweight, they often have digestive concerns. They have urinary tract infections because they often can't get to the bathroom, so they're walking around with full bladders all the time. They have headaches, they have exposure to illness, and they also have injuries that oftentimes come from combative patients. They have high stress, decision-making pressure, depression. They oftentimes will have even feelings of inadequacy because they can't save everybody. And they also maybe have some interactions with higher ups that make them feel a little less than. So they've got mental issues, they've got emotional components of burnout and exhaustion and anxiety and fear. And they also have compassion fatigue. If you're not familiar with that term, compassion fatigue happens in caregiving scenarios where there's so much emotional, physical, and a mental exhaustion that is repetitive and it doesn't go away, that it can be overwhelming. And it is constant. There's lots of demands to it. And it can lead to decreased empathy and motivation, feelings of helplessness, burnout, and also some traumatic stress. So some of you may have been at the Doterra 2017 convention when clinical psychologist Dr. Rena Zabo of Banner Health was there, and she discussed the use of Doterra's Forgive blend in a 9-month study that was held at the MD Anderson Cancer Facility in Phoenix. And she let us know that the results of that study reported improvements in feelings of happiness and job satisfaction and productivity among people who are very prone to this compassion fatigue. And she called the Forgive blend in our emotional aromatherapy kit the golden blend because it had really helpful benefits to anxiety and apathy and gloomy and angry feelings. And this whole discussion really touched me. And when I came back from convention and went to my holistic care council, I brought the emotional aromatherapy kit and I was telling the nurses about it and how interesting and amazing the whole opportunity to talk about emotions was and to have oils that were really beneficial. And I was passing them around and each person got to sniff or put it on. And just then in walked a nurse who was late to the meeting, and she just sat down and she was the next person in line. And so she got an oil, she didn't look at it, she just rolled it onto her wrists and she took a nice deep breath. And she said, "Oh wow, this is really nice and it's really calming and I really needed this. And what is it?" And then unbelievably, she picked up the bottle, she turned it, and it was the Forgive. And she immediately welled up with tears. And she said, "I just came from a very traumatic event and we lost the patient. And I just am feeling so low and so guilty that I couldn't do anything more." And of course, all of us grew just completely silent because the irony that she would step in at that moment when Forgive was there and that she would have such a positive deep breath around the oil was just so validating to me about how incredibly valuable these oils are. And I'm just going to guess that any of you who have used doTERRA's oils and have shared the oils with other people have had that experience where you have seen somebody who has in some way or another been relieved of something emotional, mental, physical, and it has been very profound to you. So I've had many of those moments. So my association with the medical staff has given me such great insight to what they experience. And honestly, my main thing that I want to share with you today is my experience with the medical staff, not with the institution, because that's an entirely different animal, and much more difficult to function with because it is an entity and not people. It's the people that I have grown attached to and have had lots of opportunities to speak with on an individual basis who have brought doTERRA oils into their lives. And so the oils that I have talked with them about in particular are things like the digestive support of the Digest Zen family of products. You might be thinking to yourself, well, we've had a lot of information about VMG and probiotics recently. And yes, that is something that I have spoken with them. But in this particular day to day, I'm talking about essential oils. So I'm just going to focus on the oils. Even though foundational wellness with VMG and other nutritional aspects are very important that I have spoken with, today I just want to talk about digestin and the ginger and the fennel and the cardamom. And I thought it was really interesting to read on doTERRA's website that the peppermint soft gels, or the little beadlets, have been added to the, not the soft gels, the soft gels have been added to the authoritative prescriber's digital reference. Some of you might have heard of the PDR, which is the physician's desk reference, and it has been renamed to the prescriber's digital reference. And that's a site that's been used by healthcare professionals forever, and it includes information on drugs and things that are approved by the FDA. So I thought it was interesting that doTERRA's peppermint soft gels have been added to that prescriber's digital reference. For stress and burnout relief, adaptive oil and touch, frankincense, these are all really fabulous oils. Physical comfort, again, the deep blue products, the Aromatouch oils, past tense, Intune, energy boost and immunity, of course, the Supermint, the On Guard, the peppermint. I have often recommended to the nurses and physicians that they use a drop of essential oils such as the peppermint or the balance or any adaptive and swipe it across their facial mask on the outside, not the inside, because the inside will be damp and that could be an irritant. So on the outside, and now they can walk around and they just have that nice burst of energy with them all the time. I've had physicians from the OR who have said, yeah, that's really awesome. We can't have a diffuser in there, but it would be nice to have that on the mask. For calming emotions, again, the emotional aromatherapy oils. And I just want to tell you that, again, my personal experience of how much they love the oils was in evidence, again, last Friday. Our Holistic Care Council hosted a fair for the staff in an auditorium, and they were invited to take a break from their units and come down and have chair massage and hand massage. And I had the whole table set up with essential oils, and everybody loves the Supermint. And it's because they're tired, they need a boost. So the oils are always a big, big hit. So as I close out today, I just want to suggest to you that if you are considering the idea that you might want to approach a caregiver group, either for support for yourself because you are a caregiver, if you want support for the person that you love, there are groups out there where you can have help with that. Or if you want to approach different kinds of support groups, that you can do it. And this can be a way of bringing some new people into your doTERRA business by speaking with not only the administrator of that group, but with the people that you might have an opportunity to speak with. As I mentioned to you, I did a little research and prep before I went to the caregiver head at the Memory Disorder Center. I built a little credibility by looking up some studies and some testimonials. You can always go to the doTERRA science blog and take a look there if you want to see some of the studies that doTERRA has done and use that as a little bit of a credibility builder. You can take a look at the website of the group that you're looking at and find out who is the coordinator. Is it a social worker? Is it a psychologist? Is it a hospice director? And just get familiar with what is that, and then connect with those groups in some way. You can Google support groups and you will find, I am quite sure, as I have found in my community, lots of support groups of anything that you might actually resonate with. There are support groups for addictions and for PTSD and for different kinds of injuries and for people who are recovering from injuries. And it's just whatever you resonate with. I had the opportunity to work with two other groups. One was a group that was healing from recent knee surgery, and another one was with an addiction group. And honestly, I didn't really feel confident in those scenarios. So they weren't something that I wanted to continue to pursue. But there are other kinds of groups out there. There are even groups of people who have service creatures, service animals, and maybe that's something that you would resonate with. So just know that you can Google those communities, and I think you'll be surprised to learn that there are many different kinds of places that you can go. And generally speaking, as I discovered from my friend John, who was the administrator of the caregivers group, when you are the one who's doing all of the planning and the speaking, it gets to be kind of burdensome, and that people are happy to have someone else come and speak to their group. So think about that if that is something that's interesting to you. Finally, I just think that this is a lovely photo and a lovely comment about caring for a loved one strains even the most resilient people. And if you're a caregiver, take steps to preserve your own health and well-being. So with that, I want to close out and let you know that I'm happy to answer any questions if I can, or give you any other insights if I can. Thanks so much for having me today and for letting me give you some of my personal insights.
Oh, Bettina, thank you so much. That was so valuable. We do have a few minutes if anybody has any questions and or experience. I know we have some other caregivers actively caregiving right now on this call. So if anybody would like to add any tips or insights or things they've done to support themselves, we'd love to hear from you.
I just want to say, Bettina, that was fantastic. And I can't wait to share it with people because you covered so many dimensions about the situation, all the holistic approach to what is going on for people in caregiving. There are so many ways that, we care for other people. And I just want to add one quick little story to that. You talked about senior living communities, and my parents were in that, as you know, and I think that one of the things that I found really joyful, and regardless of whether you're building a business or not, was giving a talk at a senior living community where my parents were at the time, about essential oils. And I, again, went to lavender, lemon, and peppermint. And we all know how quickly our memory can be jogged by an aroma. And watching the joy that, several dozen people got from the passing of lavender and peppermint and lemon, and talking about, where it comes from, and bringing the plants and the fruit, and doing it like the same class I'd probably do for a young, grade school group or something. I really loved watching people's excitement and their reaction to just getting these beautiful aromas in. I think that even communities like that, where, not every day is a happy day, and it's, not every aroma smells great, and their neighbor may not smell great. So it was kind of fun to get conversation going around plants and plant essences, and how, they can be used therapeutically as well as aromatically. And it was joyful for me. And I just want to say, if you all are looking for something to make a difference in your community, that and the Aroma Touch hand technique that we've done here in our neighborhood community, and offering that up, is just another great way to bring joy to yourself by giving joy to others. So
thank you for that, Marty. I appreciate that. And you remind me that when I let people know that aroma impacts the brain, and they, that doesn't really mean anything to them. But then when I say, I can remember a boyfriend that if I smell aqua velva, I can be like 15 years old again. And it goes right to the brain, right to the memory. So yeah, it works. It really does work. And I appreciate people's comments in here, and thanks for some tips about other oils. And anybody is welcome to reach out to me at any time if there's any other thing that I can help them with.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Would anybody
Thank
else
you.
like to
Thanks for
share
having me.
before we wrap up?
I have
Dr.
a
Josie?
share. Hi
Good
there.
morning.
Hi everyone. I'm here with my parents, and we took a poll here, and we have a secret weapon that we want to shout out to everyone that we love in all of our uses with everybody, but especially the elders, is CorrectX. And we use this specifically in foot care and lower leg, and for all kinds of wounds. But when you're dealing with elders, the toenails and foot care can really become a thing. And they're and different kinds of ointments. And through trial and error, my stepdad really, without me, I had CorrectX here, but right, Jay, you really found that was the thing that worked the best.
For your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. For her calluses.
Well, I mean, she has, like most of us, some kind of, vascular
Yeah.
issues.
Vascular issues in the
as you
feet,
get older,
lower legs.
and so that can lead to cracking and also kind of swelling and so forth. So it's a danger, and we would go to a podiatrist regularly, but we started using CorrectX, and the calluses and the cracking and all of that just disappeared. So I was doing that with your mom, and but at the same time I was suffering from the same problem, but as a caregiver, I didn't think I should be using this stuff.
Yeah.
So then you guys told me I needed to use it, and so I started using it, and I went to the podiatrist recently and got a clean bill of health.
There you go. So CorrectX is really, really a great thing to be using with, a lot of the different issues with the legs and feet.
Well, I thank you for that great addition to the oil collection. I appreciate that.
And I think you made such an important point about you thought it was okay to use for her, but not for yourself. I think that sums everything up, how important it is for us to use for everybody, that these products are for everybody. Florence, I saw that you had your hand go up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I had an experience with my mom when she was, in those last months she had dementia. And I said something about Roger, my late husband. And it was like she didn't even realize he was gone. And for me, it was such a shock deep inside. I didn't argue with her, which was good,
Oh.
as Bettina said. And then I had another situation just recently of a friend who had called me, and I knew that she had been like 5 years ago developing dementia. And I was sharing with her, she had called me the day of or the day after the anniversary of Roger's passing. And she knew Roger very, very well. And I shared with her that the girls and I got together just to be together on his day that he had passed. And she said, Roger passed? I was just, my heart just sunk because, and again, I tend to hold things in anyway. So that was probably a blessing for me that I didn't argue at all. All I said was, well, Roger's been gone 9 years. And that's all. I didn't elaborate, keep going on it at all. But it's hard on our hearts because, we know that they knew them. And so adaptive has always been my best friend. And then going in now I have a brother who's on hospice, and going into that situation each time, I use adaptive, and I also use peace. Peace really helps me, the peace roller. So
Thank
great
you,
information.
Florence. That's so personal, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Believe me.
Yeah, Bettina, what you gave us today is awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.
I hope to carry it forward and find resources that I can be able to maybe share with. So
You've got a lot to share with people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Florence. Anybody else would like to share? Okay. Well, again, Bettina, thank you so very much for sharing your personal experience, your wisdom, your expertise. It's so valuable, especially if all of us go out and share that information with a few people in our community. That has a really powerful ripple effect. So please don't underestimate the power of sharing this and very important and beautiful medicine. I want to make sure that all of you know, can you believe that it's another month past? And we have some very exciting products coming next month. The Rose Duo set is going to be available for Mother's Day. And if you do not have the Rose Mist and the Rose Oil, I highly recommend it. It only comes out once a year. I always stock up for the year, and it is divine. So that is going to be available. We also will have 10% off Citrus Bloom, which is really a wonderful oil to interchange with adaptive. It also is very emotionally calming and really good for stress reduction. A product of the month is you'll get a free lavender if you are on our rewards program and you do 125 PV order before the 15th of the month. And we have Malama, which is also was available for the VIP reward. So when you're on the rewards program, you get early access to products that come out and can sell out. So that's another incentive to be on the rewards program. And next month, we have another wonderful lineup of calls. The first call next week will be called the Gut Call. We will have our kind of panel of docs and practitioners that have been using the oils for years. It's a great call to come with your questions, but we will have an open discussion about everything gut related, which, as we know, is vitally important to your mental well-being, your overall health, anything that you might be struggling with in your life. Addressing your gut health is number one thing to do. So we are looking forward to that call. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and we look forward to seeing you all next month or next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Aisha.
Thank you so much.